In Activity 2, Measuring Temperature, students learn how to use a thermometer to measure temperature. Students first discuss the function of a thermometer, then use the thermometer to measure and compare differences in water temperature, and finally, measure and compare indoor and outdoor air temperatures. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 2, dual scale thermometers, dual scale demonstration thermometer, foam cups, and a ruler. You will also need to provide black marker, roll of paper towels, cold tap water, and warm tap water. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 2 for each student. Use a marker to label half of the foam cups 1 and the other half 2. Fill the cups labeled 1 with cold water and the cups labeled 2 with warm water. Each team of 2 will need some paper towels and 2 labeled cups, and each student will need a thermometer. For demonstration purposes, you will also need the large dual-scale thermometer and a ruler. To begin the activity, encourage the class to compare the relative temperatures of some familiar places and identify them as hot or cold. For example, the inside of a freezer is cold, a refrigerator is cool, and an oven is hot. Define temperature as a measure of how hot or cold something is. Hold up a thermometer and ask students to identify it. Help students understand that a thermometer is a tool used to measure temperature. Next, distribute the thermometers and instruct students to place their thumbs gently on the bulb of the thermometers and observe the red line carefully. Students should note that the red line moves slightly higher. Using the large thermometer, demonstrate what happened to the red line. Ask students, what do you think made the red line in your thermometers get higher? Note that some students may think that pressing on the bulb of the thermometer squeezed out the liquid inside. Inform the class that thermometers are a hollow glass tube filled with a special colored liquid, and point out that the glass tube is sealed at both ends so that the liquid cannot leak out. Help students to understand that when the liquid in the tube is heated, the liquid swells and goes higher up into the tube. Conversely, when the liquid in the tube is cooled, the liquid shrinks and falls down the tube. At this point, students should realize that it was the warmth of their thumbs that caused the red liquid to swell and rise. Next, instruct students to look at the markings on their thermometers and ask, "Can anyone tell me what these numbers and lines are for?" Students should respond that the numbers and lines represent the temperature in degrees. Explain that degrees are a unit of measurement, like centimeters, and that degrees measure how hot or cold something is. Introduce 2 temperature scales, Celsius and Fahrenheit, and inform students that in different parts of the world, different degree scales are used. In the United States, the Fahrenheit scale is used. However, scientists and people in most other countries around the world use the Celsius scale. Prepare students to read their thermometers by having them practice counting by 1s and 2s. Then, instruct students to identify each scale on their thermometers, and then on the demonstration thermometer. Students may notice that the Fahrenheit scale is marked in increments of 2 degrees, and the Celsius scale is marked in 1 degree increments. Ask students, why do you think the scales are lined up side by side on the thermometer? Explain that each degree on one scale corresponds to another degree on the other scale. For example, 140 degrees Fahrenheit is located directly across from, and is therefore equal to, 60 degrees Celsius. Next, distribute Activity Sheet 2 and the cups of water. Tell students to feel the water with their fingers, describe what each cup of water feels like to the touch, and record their description in the chart on the activity sheet. Then, ask students, which cup of water do you think would cause the liquid in the thermometer to rise higher? Students should have observed that the water in cup 2 would cause the liquid to rise higher because the water is warmer. Next, instruct students to use a thermometer to measure the temperature of the water samples and to record the temperature, both in degrees Fahrenheit and degrees Celsius. Students should then answer questions 1 and 2 on the activity sheet. When students have finished, have them dry off their thermometers. Then, instruct students to observe the red lines of their thermometers for a minute or so until the lines stop moving, and then record the temperature readings. Ask students, what is this reading a measure of? Help students understand that a thermometer can read the temperature of the air as well as the temperature of the water, and that the dry thermometer was reading the air temperature of the room. Students should record their observations in the chart on the activity sheet. Next, take students outdoors and tell them to measure the temperature of the air and record their observations and data on the activity sheet. Once you are back in the classroom, have students answer questions 3 and 4 on their activity sheet, and then inform students that they're going to learn more about temperature changes in activity 3. To conclude the activity, discard the water, dry the foam cups, and return them, along with the thermometers and ruler, to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.